Okay, predictions for NAL day number 6. This is for the 2022 season, stage number 2. We'll go down the line really quickly for the previous day's games. So I got the first 3 wrong. I got the last 2 correct, thus maintaining my 40% correct prediction rate, which isn't great, but it is what it is. Okay, so the actual results were Biscuits over Bellum, Xset over TSM, Astralis over Dark Zero, Sonics over Space Station, and Oxygen over Mirage. Beast Coast continue their hot streak. They are now 9 for 9 in terms of points in the last 3 days. They are looking to match Xset's performance from last stage, where they got no points in the first week, and then they went on to go on a pretty big win streak. They're at 3 wins, and they need 2 more to match Xset's 5 win streak that they got in the middle of last stage. Last time these two teams met, Beast Coast took it down 7-5, and they take it down 7-5 once again. I think Bellum is sort of now being exposed for their weaknesses, and maybe they're just not as strong as they seem like they might have been at the beginning of the stage, taking a pretty bad loss to Dark Zero and then taking a loss here, and it probably would have been a much more severe loss had Gunner not absolutely popped off early in the game. Dropped 19 kills, just 1 shy of that 20 mark. But, you know, even though he got so many kills, it wasn't enough to take his team to overtime, let alone to securing them the victory. So, yeah, Beast Coast continues to look better and better, and Bellum looks worse and worse. And this was even more of a team showing by Beast Coast, even though Drip and Anthony still didn't have very good stats. They weren't terrible stats, and they were better than their average stats overall, but the other 3 put up pretty good performances, and it was a lot more of a team effort than their 2 previous games, where they each had a massive pop-off by 1 player. Xset versus TSM. TSM's attacks on Villa just looked pretty ineffectual. It was a 3-3 half after TSM defended, and then when Xset went on the defense, TSM only got 1 round, and it was a 1v3 post plant clutched by Geo on Montaigne. Definitely Xset let it slip a little bit because it was a 1v3 against the Montaigne. And it was really impressive by Geo, but still, Xset probably shouldn't have let it happen. That was, again, the only attacking win that TSM got. There was a little bit of a mistake by the admins in this game where they allowed Xset to go back to a site that should have been locked, but, I mean, even if you pretend that TSM would have won that round, then still it would have been a 7-5 victory for Xset instead of a 7-4. It doesn't seem like it was a massive impact on the match, and this puts Xset at the very top of the board, tied with TSM and Oxygen on points, but ahead of them by way of round differential. And then I wanted to pick Dark Zero, or I wanted to pick Astralis here, but I picked Dark Zero, and well, so obviously I should have picked Astralis because they won the game, and Astralis seemed to be back. They were definitely plagued by COVID issues to start out the stage every day up until this one. The first day they had to sub out DP Fire for call out, and they did play on LAN, and the next 3 days they played online with a sick DP Fire, and now they're back to all being healthy and playing on LAN, and they seem to be back in form. So I'm looking forward to their performance going forward, and I think this makes sense given the context, but I think it was a little bit unclear if they would maybe need a little bit of time to readjust to returning to the stage, but I guess they didn't. Dark Zero continues to be shaky. They have 2 pretty good wins, 2 pretty bad losses, and then this is like, it's a loss, obviously, but it was a closer game than their other losses. And then Sonics taking down Space Station. Massive comeback by Sonics. They were down 1-5, and that was after they defended on Border. And Border seems like it should be a very attacker-sided map, but it has generally been defender-sided up to this point. After this game, it's attacker-sided in the NAL once again. But all things considered, yeah, Space Station being up 5-1 after the seemingly disadvantaged half, and no team this stage, they were saying on the desk how no team this stage has come back from a 1-5 deficit. All things pointed to Space Station winning, but no, a very impressive comeback by the Sonics to get me a correct prediction. And then Oxygen taking down Mirage to the surprise of nobody, but I think maybe Mirage putting up a little bit more of a fight than people expected. They got 5 rounds against Space Station, and now they got 5 rounds against Oxygen. And Oxygen really just the comeback kings. They've had to come back in every single game that they've played, and well, they've succeeded in doing so. In 4 of the 5, they came back from 1-4 against Bellum, 0-4 against Beast Coast, 4-6 against TSM. They were down 4-6 against Sonic, so they would have had to come back, but they failed to do so. They did lose that game, and then they come back from 0-3 against Mirage. So I don't know, will this trend break? Will they just fail to come back, or I don't know, like just not have to make a comeback in general in the future? We'll have to see. Okay, so the predictions for the next day: Space Station versus Bellum. These 2 teams are pretty close to each other in terms of points. Space Station on 7, Bellum on 6. Definitely 2 of the most struggling teams this stage, I'd say. Space Station has been hot and cold over and over, you know, the players on their roster, but what I really mean is they got a loss and a win, then a loss and then a win, and then a loss, and I guess they're due for another win, whereas Bellum is on a little bit of a loss streak, losing pretty badly to Dark Zero, and then losing to Beast Coast in a close game, but again, it wouldn't have even been close if it hadn't been for Gunner's massive performance. And so I'm going to go Space Station here. These two teams played each other recently in the Gamers Without Borders qualifier thing, and they played each other in 2 different series. They played 5 maps against each other over the course of those 2 series. Space Station took 4 of those 5 maps, so that's definitely a notch for Space Station, and I think overall maybe they've been slightly less shaky, but I mean, not really that much because again, they're only 1 point ahead of Bellum, but I'm going to go Space Station. And then we have TSM versus Dark Zero. This is the reigning major champions versus the reigning world champions. But Dark Zero, obviously a much better stage last stage, qualifying for the major, winning the major. TSM doing really poorly, getting 9th, not going to the major. And that was after they came off their 6th Invitational victory. But TSM, before day 5, was the top team in the league in terms of points, and now they're still at the top in terms of points. They are just tied with 2 other teams now. Dark Zero on 4 points, making this one of the more lopsided matches for the day in terms of points. 1 point separating these two. I think 2 points here. Or no, 1 point here, 2 points here, and then, well, 9 points here, but that is what it is. Yeah, 4 points separating these two teams. TSM over a full game ahead of Dark Zero. Even if Dark Zero gets 3 points on TSM, TSM will still be above Dark Zero. I guess I'll go with TSM, even if they looked not incredible versus XSET, but I think XSET is just, they just are a pretty good team at the moment, whereas Dark Zero is just sort of shaky. I'll give the nod to TSM, but I, again, as usual, wouldn't be super surprised to see this go the other way. XSET versus Sonics. I think this is my favorite looking game on paper going into the day. They all look like they could be quite good games for various reasons, but I like this one the best. Maybe just the way these two teams play, and then also the fact that XSET 7-0'd Sonics last stage. That is a pretty big beatdown. I think Sonics would like a little bit of revenge for that, and I just can't imagine such a lopsided result coming out for either team this time around. This, I would imagine, will be a pretty close game. You know, maybe it will be a decisive victory for one. I just can't imagine a 7-0 or a 7-1 or anything like that coming out again, but maybe I'll be surprised. I think XSET maybe are the favorite team a little bit. They are higher up in the standings, but Sonics are red hot right now. They dropped the 1 point versus Space Station, but besides that, they have won all of their 3 games. So again, they had to win in overtime here, but they are on a 3-win streak at the moment, and XSET did get a win in the most previous day, so a better win coming out by XSET in the most recent day. But if you look at the 2 days before that, Sonics got victories, whereas XSET got losses versus Beast Coast and versus Parabellum. So I'll give the nod to Sonics here, even if it's not, I don't think it's like clear or obvious or anything, but I'm going to go with them for that one. And then Astralis, I didn't go with them versus Dark Zero, and I guess I should have, and so I think I want to go with them here, even though Oxygen has been quite good, obviously winning 4 of their 5 games. They've missed out on 5 points so far because they went to overtime twice and they lost in regulation once, so they've been quite good. Again, their record is just solid 4-1. And better than Astralis's, but again, Astralis much more plagued by issues than just about any other team. I guess Space Station had some issues, and Mirage has also had a lot of issues in terms of COVID, but Astralis, it's particularly unfortunate because they were so good last stage, so it seems like they might just easily be the top team if they didn't have these problems, but we'll see how they do in the coming games, but I'm gonna go with them. And then for the final game, we have Beast Coast versus Mirage, and yeah, it's Mirage, so you got to predict against them. They've given me 5 of my 10 correct predictions, so no reason to stop now. Mirage did beat Beast Coast last stage. It just seems unlikely to happen again. That game all but dashed the hopes of Beast Coast to go to the major, so they are very unhappy about that, and I think they will definitely be looking to make sure nothing like that happens again. If they can get the win here, which they should by all accounts, they are definitely on track to go to the major. And yeah, I guess that pretty much does it. I'll go down the line one more time for the predictions. I have Space Station over Parabellum, TSM over Dark Zero, Sonics over XSET, Astralis over Oxygen, and Beast Coast over Mirage. And all right, so if you have your own predictions, feel free to let me know in the comments. If you have any questions, concerns, or whatever. Other than that, also feel free to voice them below, and then a like and a subscription would definitely be appreciated. And so with all of that being said, I will catch you guys in the next video.